Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're continuing on a series with the best SDS rotary hammers, and on this episode, we're going to be talking about twin turbos again. And if you've been following the channel, you know every time we talk about Bosch bi-turbo, we make a joke about twin turbos, because you know, bi-turbos, two turbos, twin, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, point is, on this episode, we're going to be talking about this Bosch 18-volt SDS-max PROFACTOR rotary hammer, and this is an 18-volt tool designed for SDS-max type job applications, right? So these PROFACTOR tools are designed to be used with PROFACTOR batteries, and there's like 8 amp hour PROFACTOR batteries, and then there's like 12 amp hour PROFACTOR batteries. But the point is, the combination of Bosch's, powertrain, which is designed to be used with the powertrain batteries, for that the PROFACTOR batteries, supposed to provide maximum benefits, performance, runtime, all that kind of fun stuff. So I think they may even call this the Hitman. I'm not entirely too sure. They got like weird code name and stuff like that going on. But most people know back a long time ago, Robert Bosch Corporation kind of invented the SDS system, which is, insert twist lock type system. So Bosch, I think, is fairly well known for, masonry applications, mainly because they kind of, invented the bit that's able to rotate and also move back and forth with the hammer action to do that, right? So this is the tool we're going to review today, mainly because look at it, it just looks huge and it runs on one 18-volt battery. So the question really is, how does this tool perform? Does it, in a way live up to its lineage or heritage or anything like that, right? So if you want to know more about this tool and see how it performs against other tools we've tested so far, stick with us. This right here is the Bosch GBH18V-45C HD. It is the PROFACTOR Performance, delivers corded hammer drill performance for an 18-volt SDS-max tool, and it's rated for up to 1 7/8 of rotary hammer drill action. Okay, it has superior impact, delivers up to 9.3 foot-pounds of impact energy for maximum drilling performance. It is lightweight at a whopping 17.6 pounds for the tool only, and it has, as mentioned earlier, the bi-turbo brushless technology, which features brushless high-performance motor and drivetrain system, which is engineered to take the full advantage of the core 18-volt PROFACTOR batteries. Okay, this tool, like I said, is in SDS Max class, is about 21.5 inches in length, and has a whopping no-load BPM of 2760, which is 2,760, and no-load RPM of 305. Okay, this tool features a bunch of other stuff along with this bi-turbo brushless system, because it also has soft start and controlled RPM and BPM to make it easier to control and also make it easier for chiseling applications. It also features an on-tool user interface for performance, feedback, control. You can also get it connected to your connected ecosystem, but you have to buy the connected ecosystem module separately. It has the anti-vibration system, which features a longer air cushion in the hammer tube and dampeners in the handle, and a counterbalance weight in the hammer mechanism for user comfortable performance. Alright, so this right here is off the left-hand part of the tool, and as you can see, it's going to say Bosch in big red letters. Also, it's going to let you know it has 2 turbos, and it's brushless, and it's HD, okay? Somebody told me a while ago that this kind of denotes, the performance or capability of the tool, like this being an 18-volt tool, and it's rated for up to like 45 millimeters or something like that, like a coring bit or something like that. I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate, but I did read somebody on the comments mention something like that before, and for some reason that one stuck to me. So we're going to have to research that and figure out, how true that really is. So, or, really understand what they said, right? So anyways, the point is, this right here is obviously the tool. All this blue stuff here is plastic. This black stuff you would imagine is rubber overmold is not. None of this black stuff here is rubber except for this handle and the handle part back here, and obviously this shock absorption system. But anyways, the point is, this tool is interesting because the battery for the tool actually slides in right here, as you can see, right? Most tools have a battery sliding on the back or on the bottom or the back or something like that, but this slides in right here. Anyways, point is this metal part here, or this gray part here, is metal, and it has this, you know, longer tube, as they talked about a little bit earlier in the marketing section or spec section, which has a longer tube which provides more cushioning for the hammer blow. So it kind of gives it that air damper system, right? So, you know, we can talk about that later. Anyways, point is they got this long handle, side handle here, and this is the only handle that you get. It is secured on here using this metal cinch ring, and then, you know, it's pretty much standard, you know, hammer side handle action. Spins, you lock it down to turn it, and it's pretty stable. It's actually really stable for being, you know, pretty much almost all entirely plastic except for this ring that cinches down to the bolt. So even though this thing is plastic, it's super secure, okay? Right here is the SDS-max chuck. It's a pretty standard chuck. You just pull it back, unlocks it. But for some reason, you know, we haven't had any issues with it. Just put some grease in here. Yes, you will see grease leak out when it gets hot. You know, that's a thing. But, you know, because you're putting grease in there, and this mechanism in here will get warm and the grease will melt and start drizzling down. So that is something that we noticed, but that happens in all tools, not just this tool. It's just a normal thing, you know, because that's how physics and heat work, right? Grease gets hot, turns into liquid. All right. The other thing going on here, you can see, is the LED light down here, and it stays on for just a few seconds after you let go of the trigger. Also, moving on to the back here, you'll see it has this user interface like most PROFACTOR tools do. On this user interface right now, it's set to auto, right, which is probably the default mode most people will use. It has a favorite mode, which you can set in the Toolbox app, right? And it also has a soft mode, makes it a little bit, you know, lesser. Watch this. So the startup mode, or the ramp up, is a lot slower than the what they call non-startup soft startup mode, which is on auto. So check this out. So as you can see, there's a quick ramp up. It's a very quick ramp up. It doesn't go like 0 to 100% right away, but it ramps up to 100% really fast on auto. So it is still soft start, but nowhere nearly as soft start as the soft mode here, okay? And as you saw there, this trigger is the full handle trigger, which is really nice on tools like this. And this is, so far, I think the only SDS-max type tool that we've tested so far on this channel where the trigger is variable without setting modes, right? So the Metabo HBT and the XGT SDS-max tools, we know that there's no variable speed in the trigger, and only the modes is what determines the variability of the speed. But on this one, there really are no modes in terms of like setting its peak, right? Peak RPM, peak BPM is all controlled by the trigger. Check this out. Right, so that trigger response is actually really nice. Can't complain about it. It is nice to have like one trigger instead of having to set with the modes. Some people may like the modes better. I'm assuming if you're doing chiseling all the time, like hammer only action, the modes may be better for you, but you know, we'll have to figure that out. It's how much you use it, right? Also, right here is where you would connect the connected Bosch connectivity module. You have to buy that separately. Obviously, you just turn it off, put the module in, put it back in, no issues. Right here, you can see the shock absorption or shock dampening system, which is a mechanism right here, as you can see, and also right here, which dampens the vibrations to the user that you would get here, combined with the air tube dampening system that is in this neck here, okay? So, you know, they say it dampens the vibration quite a bit, but I will say using this compared to the Makita XGT SDS-max we reviewed in the previous episode, the SDS-max from the Makita feels way smoother and more refined. Otherwise, moving back on here, all rubberized handle, and this right here is the trigger lock. That way, if you press that down, you can't pull the trigger, right? So that way, for some reason, you left the tool or the battery in there and you just put it in your toolbox or whatnot, you can't pull the trigger, okay? All right, moving on to the top here, let's go look at the modes. As you see right here, there is hammer drill mode. Here is hammer only mode and variable lock for, you know, where you need to position the bit. So this tool, like most SDS-max tools do not have a dedicated drill only mode. It has a hammer drill mode and a hammer mode. And I will say, after using this tool, this tool hits really hard. You can feel it, even though you can feel the vibration being dampened in the tool, but you can still tell the tool is hitting really hard. So this hammer drilling, or the hammer action, the chiseling action, is actually really nice, mainly because if you're doing things like scraping, that is where it's going to be. Backside here, nothing too fancy going on up in there. What people really want to know is, how does this tool stand up to the performance? All right, so that test was interesting. Let's go take a look at the recap. All right, so we ran this 18-volt GBH18V-45C with the fully charged 8-amp-hour battery and ran it 3 times, okay? The first run, 11.72 seconds. Second run, 10.67 seconds. Third run, 11.9 seconds. Averaging the 3 runs comes in at 11.43 seconds, okay? This is an SDS-max tool, and it hits a whopping 9.3 foot-pounds of impact energy and has no load BPM of 2760 and no load RPM of 300. That's right. That's not an error. 305 is the no load RPM. Okay. The work delivered, or energy delivered per minute, is roughly around 25,668, which is a lot of energy delivered. And the tool weighs a whopping 17.6 pounds. And I don't think we covered it earlier, but it does have the safety features built in, cutting the power off when it binds up and that kind of stuff. And this has compatible with all kinds of Bosch dust collection methods, including dust hoods and other accessories which use dust collection, right? So there's no like dedicated one dust extraction system that's made for this tool only, but there are a lot of the Bosch dust collection systems are compatible with this tool, okay? So where does it put this tool on the leaderboard? Let's go take a look. With the total performance score of 11.43, it puts the tool actually in 3rd place on the leaderboard, right behind the Metabo HBT SDS-max and in front of the Milwaukee M18 Fuel SDS Plus tools using the 8-amp-hour high output batteries, right? So those were about 11.9. This tool was 11.43. The Metabo one we viewed earlier was 10.56. And the Bosch GBH18V-45C QN, or whatever it was, using the 8-amp-hour PROFACTOR battery, which is what we think is an SDS-max tool in an SDS Plus chuck with disguise, is still in 1st place, okay? So let's go take a look at some of the numbers and see if we can, drill a little bit deeper into it, right? So the thing that immediately points out here is that this tool hits a whopping impact energy of 9.3 foot-pounds. If you look at all the tools on the leaderboard, that is the hardest hitting tool on spec, right? That we've tested so far. The only one that comes close to it is going to be the Makita GRH05, which is about 8.4 foot-pounds of impact energy, and then the Metabo HBT, which is 7.7 foot-pounds of impact energy, right? But there are huge differences, okay? So the BPM is pretty standard, or what you would expect for a lot of SDS-max, cordless SDS-max tools, which is around 2760, right? The Metabo one was 2860. The Makita was 2900, so it's right around that ballpark. But the RPM is where it really comes into a huge difference here, right? So if you look at the RPM, this tool has RPM of 305, and that's no load, okay? If you look at all the tools on the leaderboard, that is the slowest spinning tool that we've tested so far, right? The only other one that even comes close is probably the other Bosch tools that we've tested, which is the 18V-44C QN, right? Which has a RPM of 500. right? But then also the GR805 Makita and also the Metabo HPT. So those are around 500 or 590. Right, so these tools, SDS-max tools, you know, as most people would imagine, are designed to hit hard, but not necessarily spin as fast. Okay, so the energy that's delivered by these SDS-max tools are huge, right? But the rotational speed is not necessarily the best, right? In terms of RPMs, right? So there may be something to deal with how we're testing this. I guarantee you, if we were to use bigger bits, the performance gaps between the SDS pluses and the SDS max would be significantly bigger, right? Especially because the impact energy being delivered. But to keep everything the same, drilling half-inch holes, like I said, the energy or the performance gap is not going to seem as big right now, especially drilling a 6-inch hole, right? Mainly because tools like this, the SDS-max tools, have a lot startup time, right? Like a ramp up time. Even this tool has, you know, a quick ramp up even in auto mode, but there still is about like half of a second or to a second of ramp up time, right? So if these tools went from 0 to 100 immediately right off the back, you know, this tool would probably be in first place if we had to imagine, right? So, but it takes a lot of energy to get the inertia or the gears and the powertrain in motion, and that may be why these tools aren't necessarily just blowing everything else out of the water. So I did want to point that out. All right, so what can we say about this tool, right? So obviously Bosch has been making tools for a long time. This here is an SDS-max tool with an 18-volt battery, and the one thing I can say about this tool is this tool, for as big and heavy as it is, it definitely feels underpowered, okay? And don't get me wrong, it is the heaviest hitting tool, right? Which means it's probably going to be the best tool for like chipping or hammer only applications, like if you had to do scraping. That's probably the tool I would pick up, right? Because it hits hard. You know, you're scraping all the grout off mortar, whatever it is that you're doing, chipping, demo, whatever, it's probably the right tool, right? But for hammer drilling, unless you're drilling like a big bit, right? Maybe, I don't know, let's just say 2-inch bit or something like that, or 1.5 or something like that. This tool, I definitely believe, is underpowered for drilling downwards, okay? One of the things I noticed when we're drilling downwards with this tool is that a lot of there's a lot of resistance on you forcing the force backwards to keep the tool straight. What does that mean? It means you can tell the grinds or the dust that's it's grinding up is having a hard time getting extracted by the tool or the bit, even though it is a 4-cutter bit. I think it's mainly because it is a trying to pull the dust up, and it's only spinning about 300 RPMs, right? And that's no load. So under load, it's probably spinning slower than that, and it's just having a difficult time doing that, right? So I would bet, I would put money on this, I would bet if you were drilling sideways, like this way, horizontally, or even upwards, the performance number would be better because the dust would just be easier to extract. But relying on the RPM to pull the dust up, I think, is actually hindrance performance of this tool drilling that way. So, you know, if you're drilling this way, this tool probably blow all the other ones out the water. Anyways, point is, I believe this tool hits hard, and like I said before, you can feel it hitting hard even though you can feel the dampening system kind of working, right? It doesn't feel as well refined or like user feedback like, you know, as you would get in the Makita XGT SDS-max we've tested in the previous episode, but you can tell this thing packs a serious punch. With that being said, I would say this tool does not last anywhere nearly as long in runtime, right? With the 18-volt 8-amp hour battery as some of the other tools we've tested. I believe it has a high draw on the battery, and just even running one test of like 3 holes took 1 entire bar out of it. And it sometimes, you know, right after the test, it was down to 3 bars, but if you just let it come back up, it comes to like 4 bars, right? So it's just, you know, it's a high runtime or high power demanding tool, right? So anyways, what can I say? Would I go out and buy this again? That's a hard question, right? Because this tool right now, non-sale, is going to be somewhere around like $500 or like $700. But if you do find it on sale, it will be around somewhere around $500, and that's tool only, right? So with that cost, I would probably preferably get the Makita XGT tool, because, you know, every time you pull the trigger on that, it puts a huge smile on your face. But also, we have just a lot more of the XGT tools. Yes, we did buy this. They did not send that to us. Would we go out and buy it again? You know, if we're doing a lot of just scraping, chiseling, demo jobs, probably. But for some reason, the lower RPM, and you can feel it even if you're in like hammer only mode, you just don't feel like you're just getting a lot of raw power. And that's not to say this tool is underpowered. I'm just saying it just kind of feels like that, right? Will we go out and buy it again? Like I said, the answer is probably, maybe, but it's not going to be a definite yes. But should you go out and buy it? Only you can answer that, mainly because if you're in the Bosch system, this is probably a great tool for you to get. But if you're not in the Bosch system, it's probably going to be a hard one for somebody to sell you on. So, like I said, with that being said, hopefully this video helped you guys out. If you have any questions, let us know. I did forget one thing to show you. It does have the safety auto cutoff, right? So when you're spinning, right, and you're working, and it turns off, and you get that trigger, right? Or binds up, it will cut the power and it will turn red just like that. And the other thing I did also forgot to mention was that these SDS-max tools, a lot of them will not have reverse. And that's pretty standard for SDS-max tool, and this tool is one of the tools that does not have a reverse. So if you get bound up or the bit stuck or whatnot, you're gonna have to go to hammer only mode and just break it out, right? But because you cannot spin it in reverse. So make sure you keep that in mind. Hopefully it helped you guys out. I'll stop jibber jabbering and get back to work. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys next time.